Hi friends, host Eric here. Host Talking with Friends People. I want to do a very quick video on what I'm going to title the subroutines of SI. So I've been thinking a little bit about this notion of subroutines of a function. That is to say, any given function is going to express in a couple of different distinct ways, multiple different distinct ways, some of which are like subroutines and some of them are like expressions. So there's a difference. But to clarify what I mean by subroutines, I thought I'd start with SI and note that so one of all these functions are fundamentally one kind of function. SI is a knowing function, but it nevertheless, or perhaps because of it delivers verdicts on certain things that have not yet been experienced based on the way that it knows. So SI knows by experience, whereas NI knows the truth of universalities. When Rachel and I talk about relationships, she's often talking about what she knows as a universal and assuming that this applies to us. And I'm always saying things like, I'm not always saying things like, it's a weird expression. No, I'm not always saying things like, but my response to that sort of thing, if it becomes an issue, which it has on an occasion or two, like when it becomes a barrier to good communication, to say, we ought to prioritize the particular here. Of course, that's pushing on our 8 slot function, but regardless, one of the ways that SI functions as kind of an evaluatory metric, although it's not a deliberation function, is that it values based on familiarity on one scale. So that which is very familiar is expected to persist, and I mean that's how the knowledge function works. It's a subroutine of sorts in that it's ongoing engine of comparing against familiarity and using that information to anticipate and otherwise understand what's new. Another way that it is affecting the way people be along these sort of lines is that if a negative experience makes a big negative impression, that's going to be a lot more substantial in terms of its impact on behavior than a positive impression. Positive impressions are obviously good and they may lead to a repeating of that behavior, but they are not the same powerfulness as negative impressions. So if I have a very, very bad experience someplace, that, if I'm an SI user, especially if I'm an SI DOM or SI tool, is very likely to impact my future decision making. Whereas if I have a bad experience someplace and I'm an NI DOM or an NI tool user, it'll only it's much less likely to affect my behavior going forward as dramatically, unless my NI aligns with the SI there. So if there's universals that explain why I had a bad experience, and I believe those universals, then as an NI DOM or NI tool user, I'm probably going to avoid the thing just the same. But so those kind of evaluatory metrics are a couple of subroutines for SI. A couple more are repetition. So repetition is one of them where you go, and SI DOMs literally do this. They'll repeat their list of things they got to do over the course of the day, over and over the course of the day. It's why they have, and part of why they have a limited scope of time frame. So they don't think very far ahead. They don't. When they wake up on any given morning, they're not thinking about what happens in general or what might happen a year from now. They're thinking about um, today. It's as long as far ahead as they can think. I mean, it occupies all their attention because they're trying to keep track of everything in their head all the time. So, and the things they keep track of are things they're going to do, and or um, the other aspect of this is knowing your state of bodily equilibrium or well-being is another subroutine of SI. When you attend via SI, you attend more to whether you're thirsty or hungry, or at least you're more aware of that fundamentally. It impacts your conscious decision making more because it's higher up in the stack. What else might we call subroutines of introverted sensing? Well, I'm not sure there really are any others. Uh, I've been thinking about it. Like, in some sense, you could taxonomy this in a number of ways, I guess. But in another sense, there you really can't. It's kind of the reason I'm mentioning it at this point is it seems like a fairly you can build a grammar with just a few ongoing subroutines or sort of processes that operate independently of the attention as part of the attention, and then add will to the equation. There you go. You got your function. But add will or intentionality, but not will, which is the backstack. So the other thing to note is the aspect of SI. SI is a physical aspect function, which means it is the knowing function of the concrete world, not the abstract world. We people who are SI users like myself, fourth slot, we consciously use our own experience as a guide for what to make of things. Um, but it's also a matter of keeping track of resources. Oh, that's the other one I was going to say, actually. So, I mean, it's kind of like repetition. Repetition is probably subroutine. That's right. Okay. Keeping track of things. So, like, an SI person knows where their objects are better than an NI person, probably. An SI weak, like me, also doesn't really necessarily know where their objects are. I still can't find my fucking phone. Uh, so, that may be different than repetition, actually. It's hard to say. I think it's sort of a visual form of repetition. That is to say, there's probably a visual or other kind of non-language um, recalling, making conscious again and again some sort of map or schematic of a place and all the stuff you have. Okay, so I think that is it. That's as many as I can think of. And I'll do this for other videos as well. I'm super tired right now, so if this video seems a little slow or a little like off, I need more sleep.